April 20th, 2026. 11:47 p.m. Red Sea, 200 miles from Yemen. Cargo ship MV Atlantic Star transmits distress call. Mayday. We are being boarded. Armed men. Multiple hostiles. American crew. 18 soul. Send help. Then silence. Radio goes dead. Transponder continues broadcasting position, but no communication. Ship maintains course and speed. 15 knots. Heading north through Red Sea, toward Suez Canal, toward international shipping lanes, toward potential use as weapon, toward hostages becoming leverage, toward crisis becoming catastrophe. Because 12 Al-Qaeda terrorists now control cargo ship with 18 American crew. Because hijacking isn't for ransom, is for propaganda, is for using ship as weapon, is for killing Americans on camera, is for proving Al-Qaeda remains threat, remains capable, remains operational. That's what 12 terrorists intend. That's what hijacking accomplishes. That's what makes this crisis, requiring immediate response, requiring military action, requiring Navy SEALs to board moving vessel, to clear ship while it's operating at 15 knots, to kill all terrorists before they kill hostages, before they use ship as weapon, before they accomplish objectives that validate terrorism, that encourage attacks, that prove American shipping is vulnerable. That's mission. That's urgency. That's why SEAL Team conducts fastest shipboarding in recent history. Why they clear vessel in 22 minutes. Why they kill all 12 terrorists. Why they save all 18 Americans. Why they accomplish mission that prevents crisis. That stops attack. That validates American capability to protect citizens. To respond to terrorism. To execute perfect hostage rescue on moving vessel. That's tactical success. That's immediate victory. But what SEALs discover during boarding matters more than successful rescue, matters more than dead terrorists, matters more than saved Americans. Because cargo aboard Atlantic Star wasn't commercial goods, wasn't legitimate trade, was weapons, tons of weapons, destined for terrorist groups throughout Middle East. Ship wasn't random hijacking target, was deliberate operation. Was Al-Qaeda seizing weapons meant for Al-Qaeda? Was hijacking their own arms shipment? Was creating cover story while securing weapons? Was using hostages as shield? Was operating beyond simple piracy? Was executing sophisticated operation that accomplished multiple objectives? Seized weapons, created international incident, demonstrated capability, all while appearing to be simple hijacking. That's sophistication requiring acknowledgement. That's Al-Qaeda operating beyond stereotypes, beyond expectations, beyond what intelligence predicted. That's enemy evolution requiring response, requiring understanding, requiring recognition that terrorism is adapting, is becoming more complex, is executing operations that accomplish strategic objectives while appearing tactical. That's what 22 minutes exposed. That's what boarding revealed. That's everything about April 20th, 2026. Everything about hijacking. Everything about rescue. Everything about weapons. Everything about Al-Qaeda sophistication. Everything. The numbers create urgency. 12 terrorists against 18 hostages. Against crew with no weapons. No training. No capability except hiding, surviving, hoping rescue comes before terrorists execute them, before propaganda videos begin, before crisis becomes tragedy. That's what 18 Americans faced. That's what made mission urgent, not just hostage rescue, preventing execution, preventing propaganda, preventing Al-Qaeda from demonstrating they can seize American vessels, can hold Americans, can kill them. That's unacceptable. That's requiring immediate response. That's why SEAL Team launched within 2 hours of distress call. That's why boarding occurred at night, during transit, while ship moved at 15 knots. That's complicated. That's dangerous. That's requiring perfect execution. Because boarding moving vessel means matching speed, means climbing while everything moves, means timing that allows no error. One mistake means falling, means injury, means compromising operation, means alerting terrorists, means hostages die. That's pressure. That's why SEALs train constantly. Why boarding drills are standard. Why every SEAL can board moving vessel, can clear ship, can kill terrorists, can save hostages, can do it perfectly, even at night, even under pressure that would break normal humans. SEALs aren't normal, are trained beyond normal, are capable beyond normal, are executing beyond normal. That's what 12 terrorists discovered. That's what 22 minutes proved. That boarding works. That tactics succeed. That training enables perfect execution, even in complicated environment. That's SEALs. That's April 20th. That's rescue that worked. That's mission that succeeded. Completely. Perfectly. That's everything. Stay with me. Because what happens during boarding reveals more than just rescue tactics. Reveals weapons shipment that changes understanding of hijacking, and why discovering cargo matters more than saving hostages. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison commanded the SEAL team. SEAL Team 6, Naval Special Warfare Development Group. Most elite unit, most experienced operators. Morrison had 14 years. This was his 43rd direct action mission. His 8th shipboarding. He knew procedures, knew risks, knew that boarding moving vessel at night was dangerous, was complicated, was requiring perfect timing. SEAL insertion craft approached Atlantic Star from stern. Matched speed, 15 knots. Operators prepared to board. Climbing gear, weapons, night vision, everything needed for ship clearing. Morrison led. First up rope. First onto deck. First into danger. That's leadership. That's SEAL tradition. Officers lead. From front. Take same risks. Face same danger. Morrison wouldn't ask his team to do what he wouldn't. So he goes first. Always. That's what makes SEALs effective. That's what creates trust. What enables perfect execution. What makes team operate as single unit. 22 minutes from boarding to mission complete. That's extraordinary. That's proving training works. That tactics succeed. That SEALs are exactly what America needs for operations like this. That's validation. That's April 20th, proving worth of investment, worth of training, worth of maintaining most elite unit. Worth everything because results justify everything. 18 Americans saved. 12 terrorists dead. Mission perfect. That's worth it. That's everything. At 11:52 p.m., 5 minutes after boarding, Morrison's team was aboard. 16 SEALs, split into 4 four-man elements. Each element assigned section. Each clearing systematically. Each moving toward bridge where terrorists commanded ship, where hostages were likely held, where control must be seized. SEALs moved silently, night vision showing everything, seeing heat signatures, seeing terrorists, seeing hostages, distinguishing targets from civilians. That's technology enabling tactics. That's equipment supporting mission. That's why SEALs succeed. Not just training, not just tactics, but tools, equipment, technology that gives advantage, that enables operations others can't execute, that makes 22 minutes possible. That's why America maintains best equipment, best technology, best tools for warriors who need them, who use them effectively, who accomplish missions that validate expense. That's April 20th. That's SEALs proving worth. That's everything. At 11:59 p.m., 7 minutes after boarding, first contact occurred. Alpha element encountered 2 terrorists guarding engine room, where they'd locked crew, where hostages were secured. SEALs engaged. Suppressed weapons. 2 shots. 2 dead terrorists. Silent. Controlled. Professional. No alarm raised. No alert given. Terrorists didn't know SEALs were aboard. That's advantage. That's surprise. That's what made boarding at night possible. What enabled systematic clearing. What allowed SEALs to control tempo, to choose engagements, to kill terrorists before they knew threat existed. That's perfect execution. That's 22 minutes beginning. That's rescue working exactly as planned. That's everything about tactical success, about training enabling, about SEALs accomplishing impossible, making it look easy, making it look routine, making 12 terrorists look inadequate, look unprepared, look overmatched, because they were, because SEALs are better, are more trained, are more capable, are more deadly. That's truth. That's reality. That's what 7 minutes proved. That's everything. At 12:03 a.m., 11 minutes after boarding, Bravo element secured bridge. Found 4 terrorists. Found captain held at gunpoint. SEALs breached. Flashbangs. Controlled fire. 12 seconds. 4 terrorists dead. Captain saved. Ship controlled. Navigation secured. Atlantic Star was American again. Was under friendly control. Was no longer terrorist weapon. That's strategic success. That's preventing ship from being used, from being crashed, from being exploded, from becoming weapon targeting port, targeting other vessels, targeting anything. That threat eliminated. That objective achieved. That's 11 minutes accomplishing primary mission. Securing ship. Everything after is bonus. Is clearing remaining terrorists. Is ensuring no threat remains. Is making ship completely safe. But primary objective was achieved. Ship secured. That's success. That's mission accomplished even if nothing else happened. That's what 11 minutes achieved. That's SEALs doing what they do. Controlling situation. Eliminating threat. Accomplishing objective. Perfectly. Quickly. Effectively. That's everything. At 12:09 a.m., 17 minutes after boarding, all hostages located. Engine room. Locked in. Secured by terrorists who died 7 minutes earlier. SEALs opened hatch. Released crew. All 18 alive. All unharmed. All rescued. Mission complete. Hostages saved. Terrorists dead. Ship secured. Everything accomplished. In 17 minutes. Extraordinary. That's SEAL efficiency. That's perfect execution. That's training and tactics and technology and determination creating success that seems impossible. That seems beyond human capability. But isn't. Is what SEALs do. Is their standard. Is their expectation. Is why they're SEALs. Because they can accomplish this. Because 17 minutes is reasonable for them. Because hostage rescue on moving vessel is within capability. Is trained. Is practiced. Is executable. That's SEALs. That's April 20th. That's mission that worked. That's everything. At 12:09 a.m., 17 minutes in, Morrison ordered search. Clear the ship completely. Check cargo. Ensure no terrorists remain. Ensure no surprises. Standard procedure. Standard security. Standard clearing. What they found wasn't standard. Was weapons. Tons of weapons. Small arms. RPGs. Explosives. Anti-aircraft missiles. Everything terrorists need. Everything Al-Qaeda wants. Everything that explains hijacking. This wasn't random. Wasn't opportunistic. Was Al-Qaeda seizing weapons shipment. Was hijacking cargo they arranged. Was operation securing arms for operations. That's revelation. That's discovery that changes everything. That explains why 12 terrorists, why American crew, why Atlantic Star. Because cargo was worth risking terrorists, worth creating international incident, worth attacking American vessel, worth everything. Because weapons were valuable, were essential, were enabling Al-Qaeda operations. That's what SEALs discovered. That's what 17 Minutes exposed. That's what matters beyond hostage rescue. That cargo reveals arms trafficking, reveals weapons networks, reveals suppliers, reveals customers, reveals everything about how terrorists arm themselves, how they move weapons, how they fund operations. That's intelligence goldmine. That's strategic value beyond tactical success. That's why April 20th matters beyond saved Americans, beyond dead terrorists, beyond secured ship. What matters is weapons, is cargo, is intelligence that dismantles networks, that identifies suppliers, that prevents future attacks. That's everything. That's what 22 Minutes accomplished. Not just rescue, intelligence coup, strategic success, everything. But here's what investigation revealed about weapons. Here's who supplied them. Here's where they were going. And why discovering the network matters more than seizing this shipment. Investigation traced weapons, found suppliers, found buyers, found networks spanning multiple countries, found corruption enabling, found officials protecting, found system that moves tons of weapons annually, found infrastructure that arms terrorism, found everything needed to dismantle operation, found because SEALs boarded ship, because they discovered cargo, because weapons were documented, photographed, traced, analyzed. That led to arrests, led to raids, led to seizures, led to dismantling network that armed terrorists for years, that enabled attacks, that killed Americans, that threatened security. All exposed because 12 terrorists hijacked ship, because SEALs boarded, because cargo was discovered. That's strategic success from tactical operation. That's April 20th, meaning beyond immediate rescue, beyond dead terrorists, beyond saved hostages. What matters is network dismantled, is weapons flow interrupted, is terrorists deprived of arms, is future attacks prevented. That's return on investment. That's justifying SEAL teams. That's proving special operations achieve strategic objectives. That's everything about why SEALs exist. Not just tactical missions, strategic impact. Preventing terrorism through operations that accomplish more than immediate objectives. That gather intelligence. That expose networks. That enable follow-up operations. That create cascading success. That's April 20th. That's 22 Minutes that saved 18 Americans and prevented future attacks by dismantling arms network. That's everything. That's SEALs. That's mission. That's success measured strategically, not just tactically. That's everything. Lieutenant Commander Morrison received Navy Cross. His team received Silver Stars. 18 Americans went home. 12 terrorists died. Atlantic Star returned to service. Different cargo. Legitimate trade. No weapons. Network supplying weapons was dismantled. Dozens arrested. Operations disrupted. Attacks prevented. All because SEALs boarded moving ship. Because 22 Minutes exposed everything. Because cargo was discovered. Because investigation followed evidence. Because network was vulnerable, once exposed. That's strategic success. That's April 20th, 2026, meaning not just hostage rescue, intelligence operation, network dismantlement, prevention operation, everything that makes special operations valuable, everything that justifies investment, everything that proves SEALs accomplish missions beyond immediate objectives, that they gather intelligence, that they enable follow-up, that they create strategic success from tactical operations. That's why they exist. That's what they do. That's April 20th proving. That's 22 minutes demonstrating. That's everything about SEALs, about mission, about success, about impact, strategic, permanent, everything.